Friday 13 from 1980. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Let's go. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Horror Report. We got all the horror, movie, and gaming news and everything between your mouse, cow, curse, flesh. Today we're doing an episode of Is It Good? Is It Bad? Of Friday 13th from 1980, the very first Friday 13th. And I'm going to let the viewers decide if it's good, is it bad, and let me know in the comments below what you think about this movie. Friday 13th from 1980, started one of the most fan favorite horror franchises is all time is Friday 13th. Because you can thank Halloween from Halloween 1978, you know, influencing Halloween because Sean Cunningham told Victor Miller, Halloween made a lot of money, let's rip it off. And then he told Victor Miller, to write a script, and Victor Miller went to go watch Halloween and figured out the Venom. But no, Friday 13th, I think the opening, is very creepy, very suspenseful, um, and really they really set the tone for the rest of the movie. You're at Camp Crystal Lake, um, and they're saying kumbaya, and there's two young counselors go on to make love, and that was their plan, and then from the camera perspective, you see something that's stalking them, walking up the stairs, stalking them, and then you hear the guy go, we weren't doing anything, we're just feeling around," and then whoever stabs him in the stomach, and he falls down, and the person chases the lady, and then it ends with her screaming, and then with the Friday 13 title hitting the glass with Harry Maffadini's legendary score is iconic, and then it transfers right to 1980, where you see this character Annie, who's supposed to be the cook to Camp Crystal Lake, trying to get there. She goes to some type of store where you can get coffee and everything, and asks where Camp Crystal Lake, and victims go, "What the hell did you just say?" Because they realize these town knows the history of Camp Crystal Lake, and this is when we get introduced to Crazy Ralph. Um, "You're all doomed. Going to Camp Blood, ain't you? You never come back again. It's got a death curse." Um, and then she meets this guy who gives her a ride and explains everything. Camp Crystal Lake is changing, and just gives her the whole history about that and what has happened in the camp, and why Camp Crystal Lake, has been closed for so many years, and why it's a big mistake that Steve Christie put down $25,000 to open Camp Crystal Lake, and that just gives you the gist of it, and then you know Annie gets killed, and this is the one thing. This is the one thing about this movie I don't like, because I don't think definitely not a good whodunit. I do agree with the Starland Movie Podcast. It's definitely not a good whodunit, because they make it like it's a strong, man doing all these killings. That's the one thing I do. That's one of my main cons of this movie. But I and this is Kevin Bacon's very first film. One of his very first films. This is very, very cool. He started in horror, and and he has done horror since. And that and Adrian King, and Bing Crosby's son is also in here. The one that chops up the snake, and it's crazy to find out they actually killed a real life snake on this movie. It's crazy. Um, but you know, the it's a perfect. It's the camp they chose. The camp they chose for this movie was the perfect saying. It's Camp Crystal Lake, and Betsy Palmer Who's in this movie signed up just because she signed up but at first she thought this script was a piece of shit. So, but she signed up because she needed to buy a new car. But anyway, um, it's got a good cast. Not the best acting in the world, of course, and but you get one of the best. I think one of the most legendary, iconic, you know, um, make effects artist is working on this film. You got Tom Savini, and he shows his craft in this movie. Especially this movie has some couple of my favorite kills in the franchise. It's when Kevin Bacon's kill, after he's just lying there smoking, he looks up because blood comes onto his head, and the killer grabs and then puts the arrow through his throat, and how they pulled off that kill behind the scenes was crazy. But no, it poured through his throat, and I think that's amazing. His girlfriend Marcy gets hit with the axe in the bathrooms and everything. And like I said, this movie has some amazing effects, a legendary score from Harry Maffedini, some very suspenseful moments. Um, and then, when everyone starts getting killed one by one in this movie, you also once movie Alice um would you know would you know find out finds everyone's dead. Bill's on the door, one of the best screams in the movie. I think that's Adrian King's best scream in the movie. um you know this unknown person finally shows up, and then and reveals that she's Mrs. Voorhees, the used to be the friend of the Christies. Well, she was never their friend. If you find out the real history why, and she used to be the cook there. Um, and then you find out her real intentions, and you find out she's the actual killer doing all these killings throughout the whole entire movie because her son Jason supposedly drowned, which is bull. He never did drown. He was a spoiled little shit. Um, he knew how to swim. Um, Finally, and her monologue, she starts off this normal lady, thinks she's gonna help Alice, and then her real intentions come in, and her monologue when she starts getting all riled up. You never paid any attention. Look what you did. Look what you did to him, and just comes flying at Alice. And I will say this though, that fight scene in that whatever with the garage where the generator is horrible. Especially really, you're throwing stuff that wouldn't really hurt Mrs. Voorhees. You got guns in there, you got all these other weapons, and you're gonna throw a ball of yarn. But I think the most iconic part of the fight scene, and it starts when Miss Voorhees finds Alice in the pantry, and then Alice goes in towards the lake with the canoe, and then Mrs. Voorhees comes and attacks her again, but Alice gets the upper hand. And then one of the most iconic shots and one of the most iconic kills is when Alice grabs the machete and slashes Mrs. Voorhees and beheads her, and then of course you get Thomas Savini's knuckles, but that effect was amazing. And then they go the Carrie route where it's just all nice music. The cops are coming to save her. She's in the canoe, and then bam, young Jason comes out of the water and gets her. And then it ends with her waking up, and she talks to the sheriff. Man, we didn't find any boy. Then he's still there. But no, Friday 13th, it may not be everyone's favorite, you know what I mean? I still enjoy this movie, even though it's not a good whodunit movie. I still have fun with it. It's still, there's some amazing kills in here. I love the score, love Tom Savini's effects, and I really enjoyed this movie. It kicked off. It's still a important movie because it kicked off one of the most fan favorite franchises of all time is Friday 13th. Because if you ask a lot of people in this community what's their favorite franchise, it's usually Friday 13th. Usually, sometimes it's Nightmare on Halloween, but you hear Friday 13th, and now with the lawsuit and everything, and now it's one dimension under Jason Universe. Um, it's Horror Inc. working with Victor Miller and his attorney, and they're all working on one entity. That's why it's called Jason Universe. So, and now we're getting a TV series and another game, and then hope they remaster the original game. So, like the Friday 13th game is what I meant, not the NES version. Um, but no, Friday 13th, definitely was a huge, important part of the 80s. No matter what we thought about it, it still created one of our favorite franchises of all time. So that's what I think about that one. So if you enjoyed the video, please like button, subscribe, most awesome content like this. I'll have another video dropping Tuesday, and then I have a gaming stream later this week, and another couple other streams coming up in the future, and then a lot of interviews. We got a lot of content for this channel. With that being said, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good. Cheers, everyone. Bye.